All right. Okay, welcome everyone to this discussion on developing and maintaining competencies needed for workplace success. I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy lives and coming to participate in our online workshop. So we're calling it workshop, seminar, webinar, so we're pretty flexible about it. And again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today's webinar is brought to you by Peregrine and our partner organization, SEAA Trust. Peregrine works in close cooperation with SEAA Trust to help provide the business schools with resources and services to enhance quality assurance and business education for our partner institutions located in Asia and Asia Pacific region. So let me introduce ourselves. My name is Alima, and I'm running this webinar out of my office in Tokyo, Japan. I'm the Director of Asia and Pacific Operations of Peregrine Global Services. And I actually just moved to Tokyo last summer after having worked in our Washington, D.C. office for almost a decade, where I have headed the strategic partner relationships, business development, marketing and sales activities, and so forth. So my areas of expertise and consulting work have included higher education quality, training, communications, leadership development, global partnerships, quality assurance, and assessment. So here I'd like to give a few words to my co-facilitator, Mr. Dattatri Raman.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, and thanks a lot, Alima, for this short opportunity for me to introduce myself also and the organization. The organization that we have is called SEAA Trus, which is Standards for Educational Advancement, basically advancement of education through accreditation. That's the idea, basically. We wanted to, bring the international expertise and the kind of benchmarks of quality into the business education to begin with, and for higher education in general. That was the idea behind this organization, which was started 13 years back. Now we have a very, very long association with Peregrine. Now it is called Peregrine Global. Earlier it was called Peregrine Academic Services, and two other organizations, Peregrine Leadership Leadership, what is it called? Leadership Council or Association. I don't know whatever it was called, but today we have Peregrine Global, which effectively represents education services worldwide, and we are very, very proud to be associated with particular associations. So today's webinar is in the series of webinars that we've been doing on digital transformation of education. The idea is that we have COVID has really made us get into a digital mode, whether we were in it or not. Now everybody has to really get in there, and but the basic quality has to be maintained one way or the other. And in fact, the digital space, we believe very, very strongly, Alima and myself, we definitely believe in this, that the digital space has really given us a great opportunity for creativity and innovation, and which basically means leadership. So in our webinar series, we have covered quite a lot of ground, and you will find the information and knowledge about this in both Peregrine Global website, which is peregrineglobal.com, and SEAA Trust website, which is seastandards.org. You will find the details of these work that we have done so far. And today's webinar is going to be on leadership, and leadership is a very, very crucial element at this point of time, especially when we are moving into digital space big time. And most likely the way it is looking is that we may be there permanently. So which means we have to really innovate, we have to be very creative, we have to show the leadership for other areas as well. So this is where we are. Thank you, Alima, and look forward to this particular workshop. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Raman. And if you have attended all of our 4 previous, and including this one, 5 webinar sessions, we really appreciate your interest in learning more and, of course, developing yourself. And we really have had a great time with Mr. Raman and myself hosting these spring webinars. in spring of 2021. I look forward to another set of webinars, seminars, and workshops that we are planning to offer you in the second half of 2021.
Second half.
And so please, if you have any ideas of what you wanted to explore and learn from us, do reach out to us and we'll be happy to put together the content. And if you are familiar with Peregrine, we have a broad range of expertise in higher education and leadership, because Peregrine did start out as a Peregrine Leadership Institute some 20 years ago. And then we created the academic services, as Mr. Raman alluded to, about more than 10 years ago now. And then so now with Peregrine Global, combining our leadership activities and academia into under one umbrella, we are able to draw the expertise from both branches of the organization. So please do let us know the areas of your interest, of your challenge and concern that we could explore together in our next sessions. So today we do plan to hold an interactive webinar. I'm sure Mr. Tathatri Raman is a great co-facilitator. He asks wonderful questions. So we'll be playing off of each other in terms of asking and answering questions. But I do plan to leave a good, hopefully 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please definitely feel free to ask them during the session by raising your hand or typing your question in the question pane. We will have a few poll questions, so make sure you answer those questions. And then again, if your questions didn't get a chance to be answered during the session, feel free to reach out to either one of us and we'll be happy to follow up and set up maybe one-on-one call or meeting, or even maybe a workshop or seminar for your team or faculty and members. So just to give you a little of a flavor of what's coming your way in the next hour or so, we'll start with why leadership, right? And it's always good to frame the reasoning behind what we do, why we do, and why essentially we talk about leadership, right? Which many of you are very familiar with, but let's just do a little refresher. So why does leadership matter? And then we will discuss some solutions to developing leadership skills and competencies in our learners with the use of Peregrine's leading edge learning modules. I'll give you a couple examples of what those leading edge learning modules look like. And then I would like to start, as I mentioned, this is an interactive. I would like to start with a question. So the question here is, so I'm launching this first poll question. We would like to understand where you are in your current leadership journey, right? So please tell us, and you could be in charge of a program. So then think about your program. If you are in charge of your students teaching a course, then think about your students, right? If you are here for your personal development purposes, please answer the question, thinking of what you might need. So do you need to develop, improve a leadership program for your students? And do you need to create or improve a staff or faculty leadership development program, which is quite applicable, and you'll, I hope, get some good pointers from today's session. And if you're working with your students and you need to graduate students who meet potential employer requirements in terms of graduating students that have soft skills and that have competencies to be able to conduct their duties in the new jobs that they get, or perhaps even become sustainable and contributing and successful employees at their future employment organizations. Or if you're here for your personal development purposes, please let us know if you're here to learn more and work on improving your particular personal leadership skills. So I see the answers coming in. I'd like to give you a couple more minutes so you get a bit more of a response. So far, many of you are here who I would interpret as in charge of putting together an academic program for developing students' leadership skills. So let me end the poll and share the results. And then, so that's the 69%, right? And then the next largest percentage I see here is you want to develop your particular leadership skills and competencies. And then the next is perhaps you're teaching the course that involves your students and improving their abilities and skills in the area of leadership. And then a smaller percentage, 15%, are here to help your students to meet particular employer requirement related leadership skills. So thank you for responding to that question. So let's start with, why leadership, right? Why does it matter? And we're here to cultivate great leaders and with the use of competency-based modules that Peregrine has put together for you. Now, good leadership is critically important within today's dynamic and diverse workplaces. These important soft skills enable both teams and individuals to reach their potential. So Peregrine Leadership Institute, as I mentioned, offers an online leadership development program that is flexible, affordable, and appropriate for most any business corporation, nonprofit groups, or government agencies. And by bringing Peregrine Leadership Institute with the Peregrine Academic Services under the Peregrine Global umbrella, we have been able to convert and to offer our leadership content that is quite suitable for academic purposes. And that's what we're here to talk about. So if you think about just your own situation, right? Consider a case where you have worked with bad, poor leaders. And what impact did that bad, poor leadership have on you and on your organization? On the other side of the coin, think back or think, where you're working currently and consider a good and effective leader with whom you're working or you have worked. How about the impact that leader have had on you and on your organization? So as time after time, different surveys and studies have confirmed the number one reason why people thrive at work is their boss, right? It's also the number one reason why people quit jobs. And here's another study that attests to that fact. 75% of workers who voluntarily leave their jobs attribute the reason being their bosses and not the actual position itself. So that means people don't quit jobs. They actually quit bosses. So we all know that leadership does matter, right? It is the most important reason, as we've just seen from studies and surveys, that people thrive at work. And it is the number one reason why people leave an organization. So our online leadership modules help students, as well as staff or faculty, or for your personal developmental purposes, improve the leadership skills and competencies. The instructional content for each course was developed by Leadership Institute based on the organization's workshops and seminars and team development sessions, as I've mentioned earlier. So for over 15 years, Peregrine has been conducting applied leadership seminars and workshops for hundreds of organizations located not only in the US, but also all throughout the world. So with leadership, right, we want to help the individuals to reach their full potential. As you know all too well, without effective leadership, you are not going to have a successful team or a department, business unit, or an organization, right? If you want to grow your organization, to develop and foster innovation, you really gotta have to have an effective leadership. And that is going to be your main and primary driver of that growth and development and innovation. Also, leadership inspires and motivates people to work together towards a common goal. And especially in today's dynamic and diverse workplaces, having an effective leadership is critically important. Also, honing and improving upon your existing leadership skills is essential for you to become more successful in today's workplace. So then leadership effectiveness, of course, enables both teams and individuals to reach their potential. And as we all know, educators all too well, that employers expect higher education institutions to develop leadership competencies in our graduates. And you're probably familiar with Admiral Grace Murray Hopper, who was an American computer scientist and the United States Navy Rear Admiral, one of the first programmers of the Harvard Mark I computer. She was a pioneer of computer programming who invented one of the first linkers. And she famously said, "You manage things and you lead people." So who are the leaders, right? We are all very familiar with the great leaders that surround us. But then great leadership is not reserved for the great leaders only, right? Leader and the title are not mutually inclusive, but with or without a title, every person is a leader in a certain setting. So leadership starts with people, right? Our students are leaders, and we as educators are leaders, as well as leaders who are expected to develop these leadership competencies in our learners. So that our graduates, right, our learners, not only can get the employment that they want, but also we want to make sure that they are successful in their future careers. So self-reflection and self-awareness are fundamental in developing leadership competencies. Self-perception needs to be as close to other people's perceptions of you as possible, right? Therefore, feedback is essential in developing leadership skills and competencies, and just overall in great leadership, right? So, one of the solutions that we offer has to do with collecting feedback and evaluating soft skills. If you have attended our previous session, we talked about evaluate skills, a tool for assessing, developing soft skills, setting targets and action plans in order to attain and to hone those skills. And if you wanted to learn more about the value skills, please do feel free to reach out to us. And I think I have sent you a link to the webinar that we have held last session in March on value skills. So again, reach out to Tathatri and myself if you wanted to learn more about it. And then some of you may be familiar with the National Association of Colleges and Employers. This is an organization that is out of the USA, and it forms a bridge between higher education institutions and human resource professionals. Through an interactive process involving both higher education and human resource recruiting staff at more than 600 employers, NACE has identified 8 competencies that represent what career professionals should be helping their students to achieve, and what employers are broadly looking for in their ideal candidates. So Peregrine's leading edge learning modules cover a broad range of topics under the following categories that map to the NACE's 8 competencies really well. And those could be the resources for higher education to further develop their students' professional skills and competencies. So as you see from the NACE's 8 areas of competencies, that includes critical thinking and problem solving, which time after time comes up to be the most essential skill that our graduates are lacking. And then oral and written communication. It's always communication and communication, right? You can never have enough of learning and being able to become more effective learner. Teamwork and collaboration. I think our business programs do pretty well in that respect, especially through experiential learning, through internships and on-job training and so forth. Of course, fluency in digital technology is a must. Leadership, we're talking about it today, professionalism, work ethic, career management, and cultural and intercultural fluency. All right. So I wanted to ask my next question through a poll. So please answer it. So let's go to the poll questions. And I do want to understand which of the leadership skills you and maybe your team feel the need to develop and improve most in your students. Perhaps in your staff and faculty too, or maybe in yourself if you're representing and you wanted to develop yourself professionally. So as I see the responses coming in, and it's not a surprise, as I mentioned, communications is always a challenge, right? There are multiple ways and dimensions and pathways through which you can improve your communication. So far, that's leading with 71%. Now I want to give you some more time to respond. Still, communications is leading. The next is emotional intelligence. And you probably have been reading and learning and also thinking in yourself that you really need to learn more about people's way they react to feedback, for example, right? That requires some better understanding of emotional intelligence. The next comes leadership, and then career management is um, running in the next group. So I wanted to get at least 50% of votes in. So feel free to answer. Thank you for responding. I think we have some deep thinkers who are still taking their time to respond. So again, communications is leading. Oh, in the last second, we have a tie between leadership and emotional intelligence. And then career management. So let me end it now that I got more than 50% of you answering. Thank you for answering this question. So if I share the results, as I mentioned, communications is at the top, right? With 83% of you, you would like to see more of communications being developed, improved upon in your students, in yourself, and perhaps in your team members as well. The next is tie between leadership and emotional intelligence. And then third coming in leadership. Thank you. Thank you for responding to that. And that's going to shape the areas I emphasize in the next question. So let's get to the solutions by Peregrine for helping you with these challenges. And that solution comes in the form of our leading edge learning online course or modules to help develop these leadership skills and competencies. So what is leading edge learning? These are modules developed by Peregrine to provide support for developing competencies in the 8 different areas that I've just presented to you, defined by NACCE. And then we have created this portfolio of online competency-based modules that can be mixed and matched to support the development of leadership and workplace readiness skills and competencies for higher education specifically. So here's a full list of our leadership modules, and we offer these resources to both measure and build those skills, right? And providing platforms to gather and apply knowledge, and also testing performance through our 360-degree evaluation that I mentioned earlier called Evalu Skills. So you can read, the different areas. And we're also rolling out new modules on a regular basis. As I've mentioned, we have a Peregrine Leadership Institute that has been conducting applied leadership workshop and sessions in person for a really long time. So we have great content. And then with the online transformation of content into digital offerings, we're able to turn them into interactive multimedia resources available for you. We have currently available these modules through our website to enhance and develop the skills and competencies related to leadership development in your learners. So here's the first group that are in the area of leadership, which concern effective leadership development. So effective leadership, as we've discussed, is vital to the success of a team, department, business unit, or an organization, and especially in your learners, right? Training in leadership skills is appropriate for all levels of organization, and not only for those who are in leadership roles. So we know a lot of the times in academia, if you're an excellent researcher or if you're an excellent instructor, you tend to get promoted to administrative roles, right? And then somehow you are expected to practice these leadership skills all of a sudden for your own work and activities. But then you also have to build these relationships with others and, sometimes outside of your organization. And so you are expected to take on these great responsibilities. And a lot of the times, not only in an organization, you're moving up the ladder, but also if you're an entrepreneur also, it is critical to have well-developed leadership skills, right? So these are quite different from your skills you have acquired through being a successful instructor, researcher, or a teacher. And you do need to really hone in and start exploring those in order to become more successful in your duties and responsibilities. So the next group of leadership skills modules we have is related to the workplace skills, right? That cover conflict, emotional intelligence, hiring, and always communications is included. So there's speaking and writing. And as part of our appreciation for you to coming to spend this time with us, we are offering a free access to the Perfect Voice by Roger Love. There's also a presentation course, and I'll show you which one is exactly I'm offering to you as a gift to you. But Speaking Pro by Roger Love is an excellent module to really help you to become a better presenter, better communicator. And of course, you could always fresh up and refresh on your writing as well. So what to expect in these modules, right? There will be a variety of tools used to make learning engaging. And these modules offer you an opportunity to study in a self-paced environment. So we all understand some days, not only you as instructors, but your students also have more time, and on other days they have less, right? So when you want to take a course, at times it's too constraining with regard to place and time. And I have signed up for many of the Harvard Business courses through edX or, all of the other platforms. And in order to be able to keep up with that pace, life just takes its own turns. So this is self-paced, and which are quite ideal to meet to where you are in your life, in your work, or with your teaching responsibilities if you are an instructor. So you can navigate around the module in a very easy way, and you can complete and return to sections at a later time. And you can use this module as just a valuable resource. And once you sign up for a course, this resource is available to you for up to 2 years. So when you're done with a typical online course, you're done. That's it, right? Everything is closed. All your, contributions, submissions and postings and so forth. But here you will have continuous access to that course, which again, really makes it quite a convenient resource for you. All the modules are organized into logical sections that contain reviews, and each section ends with a quiz. And there's also, as I mentioned, a variety of activities are included in the course to help you to reinforce the learning process. Also, the modules vary in terms of sizes and topics to really, again, enable you to choose those that are most suitable to your needs. So if you need a 1 or 2 hour refresher on managing a team, right? There's a leadership stages of team development module that would take an hour or two. If you wanted to delve more into organizational leadership, right? There's mid-year modules that are available for you as well. So the next also set of modules cover career management, and they provide learners with the knowledge required to get the job, to keep the job, and most importantly, to progress successfully throughout the course of their career. And as I mentioned, we do have a host of organizational developmental needs related modules, which cover a wide range of leadership topics, including leading organizations, nonprofit board governance, succession planning, and hiring to help organizations build their capacity to change and achieve greater effectiveness by developing, improving, and reinforcing strategies, structures, and processes. So the next series of modules on supervisor and management training cover supervision and leadership foundations that provide supervisors and managers with the knowledge required to build great supervisors. So that's something that's quite helpful for entrepreneurial students that you might have on team, or even if you are yourself moving that step up to a supervisory role. And then most of you indicated that emotional intelligence came up as the number 2 competency that you wanted to learn more and explore more, right? So we have a brand new emotional intelligence modules, and we have partnered with a colleague out of Poland who specializes in an expert in the field. And then these intelligence modules incorporate different human emotions into how to incorporate different human emotions into the workplace, right? And that will help team members to collaborate better. And the workplace, as a result, will be a happier environment for everyone. So Peregrine, in collaboration with our partner there, has developed 4 distinct modules that provide learners with the knowledge and skills required to develop emotional intelligence. And then, there is a wealth of experience and best practices we can share with you in terms of how to apply these online flexible learning modules into your academic programs. You can use them as part of your professional development opportunities for high-end potentials or potential individuals or promising students. You can incorporate into a leadership course that you already offer. And if you are a faculty or team member and looking into kind of hone up and improve the skills, again, you can use these modules as part of the professional development program, or you can use these modules to fill in curriculum gaps within your courses that you offer as part of leadership skills development program. And if you have a career readiness center, if you have a course for graduating students that preps them for job placement, that would be an ideal place to offer these courses. And then a lot of the times you have an executive leadership program, right? Executive education program. So many of the modules would be quite ideal as part of your executive education program curriculum, especially the areas of organizational development and management and managing change and so forth. So I see more and more universities offering career readiness programs and courses, and we have partners who are looking into incorporating these online courses and programs into their career readiness programs. So I wanted to give you, are there any questions? I know I've been kind of talking. Any questions, Dattatri, or from the audience? So I wanted to give you sort of thinking and flavor of, why the leadership and how to kind of use these online courses and modules as part of your academic delivery. So please let me know if you have any questions. So I wanted to give you a couple examples of these leadership modules. For example, there's a leadership foundations module, right? So we've done a number of these leadership seminars, in-person seminars all around the world. I remember one of them we did was for the Mongolian Parliamentary Secretariat staff. And with our leadership seminars, we start with really understanding what's laid out here as be, know, and do foundations of leadership. So first is what are the characters, what are the values, and what are the attributes that make up the character of a leader, right? What does a good leader mean? So a lot of the times it's an interactive applied session. So we get the feedback from the seminar attendees, and they give us their understanding, their picture, and based on their experiences of what does it mean to be a leader of a character. And then next, usually we go into, so then what does that leader who wants to be, full of those attributes and characters need to know in terms of technical and people skills in order to become that great leader, right? And then next we go into how do you, exhibit those qualities? What do you do in real life? What kind of actions and activities do you take on in order to exemplify those values? So that covers the leadership foundations module. So it's a really good primer to kind of bring learners into the foundations of leadership, right? And then within each online leadership module and course, we'll provide you with learning outcomes. So for the leadership foundations course, for example, the learning outcomes comprise of, defining leadership, the models of the values and attributes of leadership. So what are the skills that are required of leaders? How do you lead the others? What are the areas pertain to maintaining ethical standards? How do you lead change, especially in this day and age of COVID, right? Leading change is quite essential. And then, as part of a good, of course, leadership practice, performance management comes in the fold. How do you grow other leaders, right? How do you practice inspirational leadership? And then how do you build an enduring leadership legacy? So that's just an example of learning outcomes, um, coming out of this leadership foundations course. Another example is a leading organizations program. So through this program, learners will understand how to transition from senior managers to organizational leaders. Now, what is strategic leadership, right? What is organizational planning? What are the various responsibilities related to being an organizational leader? So it's a whole another level of leadership, right? When you become to leading organization versus leading teams or leading departments and working with others. Again, the learning outcomes for this 4-module program is included here. So it, as I mentioned, this includes, 4 different series that comprise together the organizational leadership program. And so the learning outcomes for the entire program includes, performing organizational leadership activities, understanding corporate governance procedures, conducting strategic planning, establishing and maintaining a customer focus, conduct workforce engagement activities, conduct organizational performance management activities. How do you establish and maintain an ethical culture? And then the most important parts, one of the most important areas of leading organizations is that performing continuously improving quality activities, right? Here's another example. We have a leadership refresher module. And then from this module, learners will get how to influence people, grow others as leaders, how to lead a team, and get a deeper understanding of personal values. So challenges can arise at any time, right? And to be an effective leader, you need to be able to respond to those challenges with the intelligence, strategy, and expertise. So if you're having a difficulty responding to unanticipated challenges, or if you are simply interested in improving your leadership skills, perhaps it is time to further develop your leadership skills and actions. So this module would be ideal for that. And here's a nice long list of what are the learning outcomes for the leadership refresher module. And then you can, of course, read them. And feel free to, of course, request slides of our presentation today, and then you can get a closer look at what the learning outcomes for this particular learning module is. And as I mentioned earlier, as a token of our appreciation for coming to attend our webinar workshop on leadership skills development, leading edge learning modules, how to use them in your program, we are offering you free access to Roger Love's Speaking Pro and Leadership Communications. And rightly so, in our poll question, you have mentioned that communications is the #1 concern of yours, right? So if you Google Roger Love, he is a coach and mentor and trainer for many of the most successful actors and speakers, as we will know. And then we have partnered up with Roger Love and making this Speaking Pro online course available to you, which is really good to help you with overall presentation, the voice, the environment, how to, think through and how to make components of your presentation that's most effective and so forth. And then our leadership communication course will really give you great primer and coverage as to the ins and outs of oral presentation as well. So here I'd like to ask you another question in terms of, we are here to make sure that we'll provide resources that are helpful to you, right? And we want to make sure that you are communicating to us in terms of where we can be of most help to you. So please do let us know, what do you need from us, right? How can we help you? I know I'm making the Speaking Pro available to you, making the Leadership Communications online course available to you as faculty to really, get your full on hands or understanding of what these modules are, how easy they are to navigate, and how to potentially incorporate them into your online offerings. But if you want to learn more about any of our other solutions, as you know, we are really well versed in assessment and providing with reports and analytics to help you with improving quality of your business programs. Let me know if you want to learn more about any of our solutions, or if you wanted to have a call to discuss our solutions. I have a presentation for you and your team, be it for quality assurance, assessment, improving leadership skills, or putting together a leadership development plan and courses. I'd be more than happy to, did I launch it? Yes. Okay, so thank you for responding to this question. All right, I know I kind of closed it, and then I see a lot of you want to continue discussing, and you do want to have access to, I can share this, the leadership communication. So I have your information. I'll be happy to send them to you. All right. So as I mentioned, I did want to leave a good time for Q&A if you wanted to ask any questions. And here's our contact information. Oh, I'm sorry, Tathatri, I don't have your email address, but it's atraman@gmail.com. And probably you all know Mr. Tathatri Raman's email address. So feel free to email me, let me know what your needs are. If you wanted to get an access to the tutorial for Leading Edge, any of the competency-based modules, or in particular, the ones we have discussed today. And so, Mr. Raman, would you like to add a few pointers, please? A few thoughts. We don't hear you yet. You're, are you on the mute? Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks a ton. It's fascinating to have heard you so far on these things. And I want to add a couple of things to this presentation. Based on my own experience as a person who has handled some of the executive MBA programs, executive MBA modules, as well as my own knowledge as a rating and ranking person over a period of time that have done rating and ranking. In fact, I pioneered this thing in India. One of the things that everybody asks when it comes to leadership, it's a fascinating thing in academic area. They're asking, who is the hero? Who's your hero? Okay. So this is a very fascinating thing, the way leadership is approached. They say that, okay, as a student, I have such and such person as my hero. Now it's for the faculty or the institution to justify as to why this person is being held at that level, which means most of that, what we were talking about today, some of the attributes of leadership, the person that I'm considering as hero should be able to answer. I mean, it's a kind of indirect measurement of what leadership is all about. See, this is one aspect, okay, where most of the students, as well as even young faculty, do ask about who is the current hero in industry, for example, or in even in sports or in science or wherever it is, or even in politics, who is the hero. So the characteristics of the hero should conform to a large extent the kind of leadership that we are talking about here to be effective. I mean, to be useful to the institution as well as for the individual. So, which is the reason why I think in our poll also our own the participants today did mention emotional intelligence as being a very important aspect of gauging leadership or understanding what leadership is all about. This is one aspect of it. The other thing is institution as a leader, especially in business school environment. One of the important things that people do look at is institution. Which companies, say, for example, you say Fortune 500 companies versus a startup. How do you say that the startup will become eventually a Fortune 500 company? I want to bet on it. So what are the things that they will answer as an institution? What is the kind of leadership space that they would like to occupy so that eventually they'll become a Fortune 500 institution? So on a short time frame or a long time frame, whichever that you want to do it. So this is also a very, very strong basis on which we build cases. When you talk about a case, for example, what is the case is supposed to finally teach? The case is finally would teach, definitely, among other things, is definitely how the leader was able to handle this particular situation. Or as an institution, how did they handle the situation and how did they come out successful? Ultimately, any case which is resulted in good success is not a case at all. I mean, it won't be a popular case. Nobody really likes negative cases. Maybe to learn, but at the end of the day, we would like to see something very optimistic that is coming out of it. So that's how academics work. So I find that these modules that you've been talking about, especially the NASI description of about 8 different attributes, I think those are pretty much important in today's academic environment. And this is really a fascinating kind of presentation. And I'm sure based on the kind of feedback that we might receive from the current participants as well as those who we've been reaching out, I'm sure there will be a lot of inquiry about these kind of leadership modules as we go. Yep, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Dattatri. And I know it's quite a wide-ranging topic, right? Leadership. And when it comes to business, industry, and nonprofits, we're talking about really large pool. But then if we come back to higher education, especially when it comes to helping our learners to become more successful at their future careers. So we're looking at someone who can develop essential skills, right? The core leadership skills, which again comprise of communications, as you just so rightly have responded to our poll question, emotional intelligence, and ability to really listen, communicate, but also in this day and age of fast-paced informational change and transition and digital transformation, ability to tackle critical challenges that involve problem solving, just thinking outside of the box. Those are all part of leadership skill development, not only just in our learners but also in ourselves at the same time. And I was thinking more and more about leadership, right? How to frame it. So within higher education, essentially we want to help our learners to become more successful in their future careers that we don't have an idea of what that could look like. So they have to become innovators, inventors, and people who envision and become lifelong learners at the same time. But and different situations require different sets of skills, right? Different priorities. But what stays constant is the ethical standards, ethical culture, devotion to making sure that you do uphold the rule of law, and that be able to create and foster within your organization, within your team, this culture of accountability, this culture of moral and ethical standards. And I think we can do that in higher education, not knowing where our graduates will end up learning. And so that's why these modules are very flexible. That's why these modules are modules in a sense to help you fit in the pieces that you want to beef up your offerings, that you want to focus your offerings to meet the particular needs of your students who will be headed in a field or a specialization or in just, whatever areas that you are more of a niche in terms of your program offerings. So thank you, Tathatri. Those are some excellent and amazing thoughts. And we have really enjoyed offering these sessions to you. We would like to thank everyone who have signed up, who have reached out to us and being part of our conversation, and look forward to hearing back from you with your input, with your feedback. And Peregrine is devoted to the quality of higher education, and we are devoted to improving. We truly believe in continuous improvement processes. So only with your help, with your assistance, with your feedback, we are able to improve ourselves, to develop ourselves, and to widen the offerings that we are able to present to you today. So I would like to check one more time if there are any questions, any chats, or and then with that, then again, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Raman, for being a great partner and colleague in presenting these webinars and SEAA Trust, and look forward to another set of fall offerings to you with fresh ideas, fresh experiences, best practices in the second half of 2021. Thank you very much, everyone.